Welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and lately, if you've been listening, you'll know that I've been trying to get more serious about Patreon because this podcast does rack up quite a few out-of-pocket expenses for me to run. But basically, if I get 2 new Patreon subscribers every week for the rest of the year, I will be good. And coincidentally, last week I got 2 new subscribers, so thank you super much to Paul and Fusco. So if you would like to be one of the 2 new subscribers I hope to get this week, please go check out my Patreon. The link is in the description of this chat. This week I'm chatting with 2D animator Jon Densk, who's currently working on a new short film called Axolodyssey with his newly formed studio called Studio Fresco. In our chat, he shares how he mentored under Tom Bancroft on Cuphead, which led him to working on Space Jam. He's also going to share how he helped found Studio Fresco with some friends and the ins and outs of putting together a Kickstarter for his new film, which is all about axolotls. And if you're already intrigued, you can go support that. I've included the link to the Kickstarter in the description of this chat. And now, without further ado, let's jump in. Hello, Jon. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Terry?
I'm good. I said 20 seconds ago that I was gonna immediately grill you.
Yes.
So why don't we start with that? And I'll ask you, what has been eye-opening about the animation industry for you this past year that you didn't really experience before?
That's a tough question. I think we're in a really unique position right now, especially 2D animators like myself, where like when I was really like I've been animating for 5 years and I've been working on projects here and there for I would say 5 years. But I wouldn't say my career truly kicked off until 3 years ago in 2020. And I say we're in a unique position because in 2020 with the pandemic, we had the bubble of streaming and all these things are getting greenlit left and right. So like there was tons of jobs open and you could work in any country from like your home anywhere you wanted to be. So it was really cool. And then now this year, things have started to shift. And it's more like, oh, well, now you can't work remotely, even though we'll say we offer remote work, but you can't work remotely if you don't live in X, Y, and Z. That's a little eye-opening to me. I didn't think that kind of thing would happen since
why do you think
so well.
Happened? I'm curious.
I'm not really sure. I think it probably comes down to something related to taxes or something. That's what I think. That's what I've been told. But yeah, that's really what I think it is. I don't think it's anything malicious.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I mean something similar happened to me with a project where it's unreleased, so I can't talk about it. But I was working remotely, and then they suddenly said we're only going to be working with local people, and then that project wrapped up for me.
Yeah,
but I've also talked to a lot of studios that say now they're looking for artists anywhere in the world,
that's good.
which is, I think that's fantastic. So I guess you're in a niche of 2D like hand-drawn animation. Have you noticed there are less opportunities now in what you're pursuing?
No, I would say no, actually, surprisingly. But there's less big name projects. So like I don't think Space Jam 3 is going to come out anytime soon. Not that there is a Space Jam 3. I just like to use that one.
Right.
It makes me laugh.
So how did you get, I'll just ask you randomly, how did you get involved with Space Jam 2 in the first place?
That's interesting. I actually was supposed to assist Tom Bancroft on that film. And he was in talks of getting on that, I think around like 2019 or maybe even earlier. He was like in
assist Tom,
like do in-betweens and stuff.
Okay,
like,
okay.
Tie
So
down
he would do
whatnot.
like the main poses and the timing charts, and you would do the Okay.
Yeah. So at that time, that was what we were gonna do. And then when the time came around in like early or mid 2020, whenever I was on that film, he decided he didn't have time for it anymore. He was doing other things. And so he just gave them my email and he was like, hey, like he was going to assist me anyway. So like, I think he's ready.
Wow.
And so that was really my foot in the door because I got to work on like a handful of shots on that film.
Amazing.
Just from that.
I'm
Yeah.
curious though. Okay, so like a big project that has assumedly a lot of money and time, um, you can do a lot more than what you can do with TV animation. Did they give you a lot of time to do your shots?
Um, I would say they probably give you like 2 to 3 days, and they would really tell you one day. And I think the 2 to 3 days was like the buffer that you had if you screwed up or something. But like,
Wait. So like in a day you get the shot, the direction, and you have to export the tie downs by the end.
no, not okay, no, not I mean for like the first pass. Sorry. So
Okay.
like my schedule was basically like every day at 8 in the morning they saw the next stage. And like within 3 days for me, that's typically when a shot was done. But
Wow.
like you had, I would say, a buffer of 2 to 3 days for each stage.
I would
So
be
like rough,
sweating working till
it
8
was
a.m.
it was hard. Space Jam was actually really hard. There was a lot of nights where I worked until like 11:30 or 12.
How do they,
And it
I'm
was just
curious
like,
also, how do they, I haven't really talked to many 2D like feature animators. I don't know if you could share this, but like, do they pay per hour, per drawing, per or frame, I guess, per or the like a set amount? Like,
mhm. I think maybe every studio might be different because
yeah,
I know some animators that I've talked to prefer getting paid XYZ and whichever way. And for
yeah,
me, I was paid hourly.
gotcha.
So, but they made us work Saturdays. So I mean,
Oh
it
no.
was like they would text you on Saturday and say, "Hey, can you get this by Monday?" And it's
Of
like,
course they
okay.
would. Of course they would. Oh.
That was near the end though. So I mean,
Well,
as to be expected.
did you like up because you went from an assistant animator doing in-betweens to working on full shots yourself. Did you like massively upgrade your skill level from doing that? And confidence maybe too?
Confidence, I would say, has never gone up. I
Oh
would say
no.
my confidence is still at
It
like
stayed at an
1%.
all-time
Oh
low.
yeah,
What?
oh yeah. It's so low. It's so low. But I would say my skill has gotten there because when I would show the director something and he didn't have any comments other than good, then I was like, I guess I'm ready.
I guess. Okay, wait. Have you ever experienced your confidence going up with what you're doing with animating?
Only when I am working on my short film, truly, honestly.
Hmm.
When I'm working on that stuff,
Why is
uh,
your confidence higher when you're working on your own stuff than with other people's stuff?
I think for me, it has to do with like seeing my vision from like a storyboard or just like a thought to a storyboard to like an actual shot.
Yeah.
Like seeing that whole process take place, it's like, oh wow, like I really did it.
Yeah.
Instead of like trying to match what someone else is seeing, you go through revisions like so many times. Or if you get lucky, you don't even have any revisions. But it's like it's still you're trying. I feel like for me, I'm trying to fit a mold. And when I'm doing my own thing, it's like full on expression of what's going on in my head.
That makes a lot of sense. I was thinking for me, like I do feel more confident working on my own stuff because only my personal style is exactly how I want it to be versus like what
Right.
you said, when you're working for somebody else, they've got a vision in their head and you're trying to like match it. So that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. Why don't we take it, I know you have a big project that you're working on right now and it's actually what made me more aware of who you are and what you're doing. But I want to roll it back and talk
Yeah.
about how you got into this niche of hand-drawn animation when you started going to business school, like myself,
Yes, I
and
did.
pursuing a business degree. How did you make the transition from like marketing to drawing with your hands every day?
It goes further back than even that.
Oh
So yeah, it does. So this is a deep, dark story. No, I'm kidding.
gosh.
I've always been a comic book guy
Yeah.
and wanted to make comic books and wanted to have my own series. I still do. Like this is still a plan in the future for me. But that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't think you went to school for comic books. I didn't think you went to school for I mean, it's like the modern day. I'm an idiot, but I
Listen,
didn't
we're
do
all
any
idiots.
research. But I
There's
just
no confirmed path of like you go to
no
comic book university.
right. And I also didn't think you needed to go to school for art because like a lot of the artists I looked up to, they didn't. or they went to school just so that they could like have an avenue to get their art out.
Yeah.
So like for me, it was like, oh well, I'll go and get a marketing degree so I could learn business and then I could pursue my own comic book.
I mean, that's also smart.
Yeah, I forgot everything related to business,
Well, that's not
unfortunately.
smart because I
when
was
when
gonna
it
say,
came
like, I
to
went to school for business, and that's helped me uh really streamline and speed up my career versus like
yeah.
my classmates in Sheridan College. Like, uh, because I had that kind of acumen that a lot of artists don't have
Mhm.
when it comes to like the business side of things. So you don't feel like that really helps you?
I mean, it does. It does. I just forgot like a lot of the very technical things.
Yeah.
So, like, don't ask me to do your accounting. Let's just
Oh,
say
accounting sucks. Don't ask
yeah,
me to do my own
accounting does
accounting
suck.
either.
But like I feel like I have the knowledge of marketing in itself. Even though that when I was going to school, we didn't have like social media was just kind of starting. So or well, it wasn't just starting, but like the social media on your phone was really just starting to pick up. And like now it's so different. I feel lost. Like I don't understand TikTok at all. But like that's a big key factor in marketing now.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
but marketing aside,
Okay, so you're a comic book
yeah,
guy, thought you had to go to business school, and
yes.
then what happened internally where you said, I'm in the wrong direction. I need to switch up my path immediately and get into animation.
Well, um when I was going to school, they didn't have their animation program when I first joined. It started when I was, I think, a junior, and I didn't recognize that it was there until I was a senior. So I decided to, yeah, smart move. Decided to take a class called character design with Tom Bancroft, and I had no idea who he was, and I had no idea what to expect. But when I got into the class, I was like, well, it's kind of cool, and he was talking about animation and showing his like demo reel and explaining character design stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, like I knew what animation was, but I was like, man, I would never want to draw all those frames. That sounds like hell.
But you want to make a comic book.
Yeah, I know, I
Okay,
know.
okay, okay, okay.
Right. And so then he was talking, I think literally in the first class, he was like giving a crash course on animation, ironically, because he was like going over Glenn Keane and all the Disney animators. And I fell in love in like 1 second with just the idea. And so like I wanted to talk to him and meet him. And then I started animating like on the side a little bit. I was teaching myself really.
Wow,
And then he kind of saw that in me and kind of took me under his wing to
interesting.
teach me like animation. Yeah, because I was one of the like one students that just like never stopped.
Yeah, I was
Just like
gonna ask you, what made Tom kind of single you out because he's been in the industry forever. He has tons of contacts. He also runs a podcast with his brother. Like,
yes, he does.
why you? Like, out of
I have
you're a
no
business
clue.
degree guy who just showed up to a class and then suddenly you're his assistant.
I have no idea. You'd have to ask him. I would assume it has to do with I did the first assignment we had was like an expression sheet, and I did it and he railed it in front of the whole class. And then I bet he doesn't even remember this. I did it 3 times until he said good job. Like I just went back to my dorm room, did it again, brought it the next day. He gave me notes again, went back. Like I was that kind of person. I still am.
But
So
what?
I'm like,
Okay, interesting because you
yeah,
weren't this kind of person with marketing, it turned out, but you were this kind of
no,
person with your first animation assignment.
yeah.
What was keeping you going? I have to keep doing this.
That's a really good question. It's some weird complex that I have with animation. I
It's
think
not
it
the
was destiny.
confidence, it's the
Yeah, no, it's not.
complex.
It's yeah, exactly. I think it was like destiny or like fate, whichever one you want to believe in. It just it had to happen. And all at the time, like I didn't know if I wanted to pursue animation or like go back to school and pursue animation or just go on and do marketing and just like kind of just let it fade away. And I swear, like once a week, there was a legitimate sign like in life that said like keep going, do this. So I just went full force. I said, all
Wow,
right,
amazing.
yeah.
So like,
And I didn't care about animation until I took that class, and then I got bit by the bug the moment I tried it.
what is the bug? Like what is it about
Oh,
animation?
I I don't know. I think everybody's different with what they get bit with, but with animation, if you're crazy enough to pick up a pencil and draw the same thing like 100 times, then you've
On your
definitely
own,
been
you
bitten
mean?
by something.
Like
Yeah,
nobody
like
forcing you. Then it's
no
probably a good sign.
assignment, like just you did it by yourself. You bought animation paper. Like the moment you look up animation paper on Google, I think you're done.
This is so funny because this is exactly what happened to me. I started my own like Instagram comic out of my own volition, really.
Cool.
And I did it every single day for 365 days, no matter what. Would wake
Wow.
up every morning and work on it. Nobody was following it. I fully watercolored it.
Holy
And
cow.
by the end, I was like, if I'm doing this every day,
Do
why don't
it.
I just reroute my life into animation?
Yeah.
So
Did you
I
enjoy doing that?
did I enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I couldn't think about anything else when I was doing it. I was working full time, etc. But it was like it was such like a passion thing, and I couldn't. It was like my life depended on it almost. It was so strange. I don't
It's
know.
kind of how I feel about when I'm picking up a pencil too. No matter if it's like sketching out a floor plan for my comic book in the future, or some shot that I'm animating, or some short that I want to make in the future too. It's like if I can't do this one thing, it's like my whole body hurts.
Wow. I mean, I
It's
get
like,
that. I get that. When I
yeah,
was in marketing, I was like outputting all these crazy creative projects for no reason. Giant paintings, a big statue of a horse, like all
wow.
this random stuff that I was just doing. And people were like, wow, Terry's such a creative guy. And I was like, I can't not be. I don't even want to do this. It just happens.
It's weird. It's
um,
weird.
Let me ask you this. You've mentioned a lot of times comic books, but
Yeah.
you haven't started that.
I did a little bit, and if anybody has bought one and is confused why I haven't made another one, I'll explain in a second. So I did kind of make like a mini one just as a test to myself to see if I could do it one day. And like I bought the big paper, I inked it with like a brush, like
Oh,
old school way. That's like
wow.
the way I love doing comics. And I found a printer and like made a few hundred copies and sold some, and it was really cool. And like I actually had a lot of fun doing it,
Yeah.
but I just am not in that place yet to actually go full force with that story because I'm kind of still writing it and all that. So the mini comic was like just a test. See, like, do I have the ability to do this? I actually have one right here. Like, this was it called the
Da-da-da.
Great Hollow,
Yeah.
and it just has lots of cool artwork. It's
Oh,
black and
wow. Yeah. And it's quite extensive too.
yeah, it's really short. It's like I think it was like 10 pages or so, but I put in some extra artwork that I've done on the side.
Nice.
So if anyone, if any, with the two people that are waiting for that,
So,
it'll come
so
someday.
okay, so you just told me the only thing that's holding you back from going all in is the story is not there yet.
Yeah.
But what's stopping you from saying like I'm just interested in why you're pursuing animation when it seems that your end goal is to create a comic.
Well, I mean, it's not. My end goal is just to do what I want to do, and
Okay,
I want to do both. And
great.
yeah, I have dreams to make my own movies and shorts, and I have a dream to make my own comic book. And I probably will end up, if knowing me, if I am able to do either, I'll be doing them at the same time.
Got you. Okay. I'm still curious about your path a little bit. I want to talk about what you just said, making your own shorts and stuff, because you are
Oh
doing that
yeah.
right now. But okay, so out of school, Bancroft,
Mhm.
and a Space Jam. Like you said, it took about the last 3 years for your career to really pick up, but you've been working for 5 years and then 5 years.
Yeah.
So how, this is a pretty niche form of animation that wasn't very
Mhm.
popular a while ago, but it seems to be making some sort of resurgence now. How difficult was it to be working full time or aspiring to be work full time and like a livable wage and like cool projects with just 2D hand-drawn animation?
It's difficult. It can be difficult at times. There was like 2020 was a really special year where like everything got greenlit, like I said before. So I didn't really have that worry for like a year and a half.
Nice.
And it was kind of nice because I would just have like a month or two between projects and it would be like a little bit of a downtime. And
Yeah.
then I'd go right into something else. But I mean, before that, I was still doing my art degree. So I wasn't super concerned about making a lot of money.
Makes sense.
Like I was living with my father-in-law at the time. So I mean, for me, it was like I was able to do what I needed to do. So like when I worked on Cuphead, that was the first actual project I worked on. And that was just assisting Tom at the time. That was like in 2018. And I don't know, I think we made like a couple $100 on that and only did like two shorts or two shots, but it was like, wow, this is so cool.
Oh,
And then
wow.
like, yeah, and then when I got to actually kickstarting my own career in 2020, it has been pretty lucrative, but I would say you have to like be able to do a couple other things too if you really want to like full stream of revenue all the
So,
time.
so what's in your hat of skills that you know, get that full stream?
Um, I've done some character design,
Yeah.
like outside on other productions and stuff like that. I haven't done storyboarding, but I'd like to, but my storyboards are so scribbly that it's hard to compete with people in the industry. So
Yeah,
when
some people
people,
go ham on
yeah,
storyboards.
yeah, the storyboards now, oh my gosh, my friends and I gush about them. They're like almost animated.
Oh yeah,
It's
they're
like
basically you could just watch the movie in storyboards.
you really could, like they're storyboarded to like a CG camera. I'm like, oh my god. So that one I haven't done professionally yet, and for good reason. But yeah, I've done character design stuff like that, and there has been like this year, it's been a little rough with, I think, just like I don't, with whatever the state of the industry is, whatever's going on right now, I can't tell if it's truly related to the strikes going on or if it's
Yeah.
just more that we don't really know what's happening.
I feel like that
But
too. I feel like, you
the
know, we
market,
had a big boom after the pandemic and now the industry is everybody's competing. So I don't know, it's going to be an interesting couple of years. Um,
it is.
oh my gosh, I just had a question that escaped my mind. But okay, so you've been able to, oh, my question was, what has been the number one way to get new gigs? Are you like on the prowl on like LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, or is it from your connections? Because like all of my all of my gigs have been from connections purely. I have never gone on a job site or anything like that. And I'm just wondering how sustainable that is for me, or at some point I'm gonna have to like, it's better to just know everybody who does this, or am I gonna have to like go on Indeed?
It's a mix of all the above, except I've never used Indeed, and now I
Gotcha.
feel like I should check it out sometime.
Oh, it's just one that came off the top of my head. I
Yeah,
don't know.
but yeah, a lot of the times recently has been people like messaging me on my website, which
Hmm.
I'd never even, the contact form on my website was intended for the comic book. Actually, I have it in the back, like you could send in like any comments you had and I would like publish it in the first official issue. And
People are like, I'm not interested in your
yeah,
comic, but would
no,
you?
right, no one has ever done that, but people have actually reached out on my website for like job opportunities. So
Nice.
that's first happened this year, but other
Wow.
than that, a lot of it's connections, and a
So
lot of people have
how do you
reached
think
out
people
to
are
me through
finding
LinkedIn.
you from your website? Because it's not like you search like animator doc on Google and you come up. Is it because of social
I think
media, do you
it's, yeah,
think?
I think it's because of Instagram and LinkedIn. I think those are the two that I've heard before. If they
Okay,
see
so
me on LinkedIn, they'll go to my website and contact me there.
right, interesting. So like LinkedIn is still paying off for
It is.
yeah, cool. Okay, so let's talk about Studio Fresco. So
Sure.
you are 2D animating for a while. You worked on some really cool projects, and then you and some friends say, we're looking at the state of animation. You're saying we should form a studio.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Great question.
There's a lot
We
of
just,
studios out there already.
I know there are. There really
Why?
are. We yeah. We yeah, it's just a couple of friends of us and myself. We wanted to make a studio that kind of just like called back to the animation that we love as kids, and that like kind of gives you that feeling of adventure, like those good feelings. So like a lot of the stuff may not even be from animation itself. Like we get those feelings from video games like Super Mario and stuff like that. Like all those things inspire us to make the stories that we got in our heads. But if it ever happens, we'll see.
What do you mean if it ever happens?
Well, right now it's kind of banking on my short film as of right now.
So you
So,
formed a studio and you said and you agreed that we would make a short film.
yep.
You already had a story that was going.
Yeah, so
So you're like,
the
let's, I already have something, let's do that.
yeah, so the talks for the studio were like all of us were just like we should form our own studio one day and make like stories that we want to tell. We were like, yeah, we should do that. And then like as I was writing Axolodyssey, like I was close to being done and I was like, hey, you guys just want to start the studio and just have the first thing be Axolodyssey? And they
Make
were
my
like, yeah,
film
all
for
right.
me.
Yeah. They were like, yeah, all right. The idea is to like pass the directorial hat around.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, like a collective kind of. Yeah,
yeah.
there's some like collectives in Europe that I've talked to where they kind of do that. Whoever's film is like next, they all work on. Interesting. Okay, so you're trying to create stories that give like a nostalgic, like simpler time adventure
Hmm.
past that you all grew up with, and you're
Yeah.
not really seeing that in like current media. Is that
Yeah.
because
Yeah. A lot of the films and shows just, I mean, we're not fans of like adult shows and films. I just personally, I just don't connect with that kind of thing. I'm
yeah,
more like I'd rather watch Totoro, which has
right.
no adult themes at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like, and like a lot of films feel bloated and just
Totally.
like the stories are just not hitting it. And it's like you could watch a movie from 1980 and it's like that connected with me more now than any film in the past 20 years. It's like, geez.
Exactly. I'm all for that. And like, there's a lot of modern stories being told that are just like quick fixes,
Hmm.
like that aren't of any overall impact or value. Would you say, as you're talking, I was getting like over the garden wall kind of vibes. Is that
Oh yeah.
along the lines of what you're trying to create, where it's like, like a nod to a lot of like old school themes and stories
Hmm.
and bring it to
Yeah,
something
yeah,
new?
we're all fans of that. My friends gush over that show hardcore. Yeah, they love that show. So, so yeah, if we could make a show like that, I think we'd all be pretty happy.
So Axolodyssey, which already sounds super cute, it's got axolotls, which everybody thinks are super cute, and they're like
Yeah,
memeified to
yeah, they really are.
the next level or whatever. Um, why have you? Okay, so I have kind of like a side project with some friends too, and we've put together like a trailer, and we have like a pitch bible and stuff, but we're like pitching it around versus deciding to start a Kickstarter to like self fund this thing. What was the choice to Kickstarter it? Because like I feel like there's in like pitching it, there's no risk because you don't invest until somebody gives you the money, right? But
Right.
with Kickstarter, you're like putting all your risk out there because if people don't resonate with it and send you the money, then it's not happening, I guess. So
Hmm.
like what was the choice to do that?
Um, we kind of just wanted to let me collect my thoughts for a second
Collect those thoughts.
because I just like had an answer to the last thing you said
I
as
don't
I
even
was
know what the
had
last
the
thing I
answer to the
said
first
was.
part. We didn't want to pitch it around because we didn't think there would be like much of a market for like buying a 15-minute film unless it was like a spot on like a network, which is cool. Like the idea of doing that. But also then we lose a lot of control
Yeah.
and we lose probably the story that we have there already. So and we'd probably have to outsource all kinds of I don't know what we would have to do, but it
Yeah,
gets a lot more complicated once two hands are in the pot
of
than one.
course.
So we thought, well, why don't we just Kickstart it? Because if that works, then we're golden. Then we could go and pitch this finished product and just like have it be distribution rights or syndication rights, whatever it would be. So, I mean, we're not too afraid if the Kickstarter doesn't work out because we could go that route afterwards. I mean, we could try that, or we can just be making it in our downtime just between gigs and have it
Yeah.
eventually come out and do what we will with it at that point. But yeah, Kickstarter, it seems I'd also okay, yeah. The last thing you said was the reception. The strange thing and the realistic thing that I realized with Kickstarter is like you may have like a lot of fans that follow this thing online, but that doesn't equate to a lot of fans willing to donate to make it
Right.
happen.
Right.
I kind of assumed, like, from all the like love for this project that I've received over the years, that it would be like instantaneous, and it is not. So that's fine. I have no problem with that. But I don't think it reflects also like at the point that it's at now, or if it doesn't work out, I don't think that reflects like the love for it.
Yeah.
I think that's just like a sign of the times economically.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a lot to hit on what you just said. First of all, I think it's really important that you're not going with another studio because, like, from my experience pitching around a couple different projects, the first thing they want to do is change everything to fit
Mm-hmm.
what they sell, essentially. And if you have such a specific story that you're trying to hit, then a studio likely isn't going to see that same vision because they're more or less
Right.
thinking like, I sell to like these countries, and these countries are looking for like 5 to 12 like little girls who like
Yeah.
songs, for instance. And it's like, well, okay, we can make Axolodyssey into that, but
Right.
then it's not the
Then
thing that, then I would
what
just
is it?
rather create something for you
Mm-hmm.
with axolotls rather than like the thing you're trying to tell. So I
Yeah.
really I really do think finding a studio that believes in your vision is like extremely rare,
Yeah.
and may not exist. And maybe this is the case where like you have to prove yourself that people actually want to see this before studios are even willing to invest, or producers, whatever. So that
Yeah.
I get that a lot too. The second thing I guess is like you're gonna make this regardless. This is happening regardless if the
That's the
Kickstarter pays
plan.
off or not. It's just like maybe it's going to take 15 years it doesn't
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
off because you're
It's
doing your
clocking in
downside.
at like close to 16 minutes at this point
Uh,
for the
uh,
animatics. So I mean, the trailer took 4 months, but it was really just me and my other friend animating, and
right.
then one friend doing backgrounds. So I mean,
Are you animating on paper?
no,
No.
no, I wish. I mean, I really do wish, but I don't have a downshooter at all.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have room in my office for
Fair,
downshooter.
fair, fair. Yeah. I mean, the
I mean,
animation is beautiful, so it already looks like it takes a lot of time
thank
to
you.
do. So,
Yeah, it was all done on TV Paint.
wow, TV Paint. Okay.
Hmm.
I've never used TV Paint, but I keep hearing about that for 2D animators, and here I am using Toon Boom.
Toon Boom is the industry standard, but I don't know exactly why. I mean, I think it's just because it could do X, Y, and Z with puppets too. And
Probably,
so
yeah.
it's like just
Just
put
switching
the
over.
two and two together. I mean, TV Paint, honestly, pick your poison. TV Paint just feels a little better to me, but that
Right.
might be complete bias. Who knows?
That's fine. So what you said, it was also really hard to get people from social media to invest in the film. Have you noticed that any of your actions specifically have um, increased investors in the film?
Um,
Because like, the classic Kickstarter advice is like create an emotionally driven personal message video, or like,
right,
you know, post 50,000 times a week on
right,
every social platform. Uh, create like things that people want to buy, like plushies and stuff, so they invest
right.
more. Like, have you noticed anything specifically has given you an uptick in?
I think a lot of it is just the animation alone, I
Hmm.
would say.
So just posting progress of your animation
Yeah, yeah,
makes
and just
sense.
the clickbait of the frames, I think, is getting the eyes and gets the people that are willing or in a position that they can donate to the project like this.
Makes sense.
I don't have like all the products that I have on the Kickstarter in hand. I have like probably half of them, but I've shown off some, and I think the reception's kind.
Nice.
But with the more physical stuff you get, the more money you have to pay. So I mean,
Of course.
it's hard. And who knows? Maybe a lot of my fans are just like kids. So I'm like, who
Your
knows?
parents' wallets.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, so say the Kickstarter takes off, you get fully funded, you and the team are able to knock this out in the next, I don't know, year or something.
Hmm.
Who what would be success for you guys? Like, what would be a metric of success besides finishing the film and getting the funding? Um, like, what would you consider like this is a successful project? Because you
Right.
mentioned, the studios, this is the first project from the studio, um,
Hmm.
etc. So like,
I think just getting it done would be a big metric of success. Just to have something with like our name on it, even if it wasn't the studio, if it was just my name or your name, it would just be like a massive pile of success.
Yeah.
Like, you did this and it looks really good. But I mean, we have ideas with like afterwards too, to like maybe try and get it like on PBS, or I
Okay.
think Fathom Events is the company that like distributes the Ghibli Fest stuff. And for a time they did short films before the movies would play. So
Hmm.
we kind of think this would be like a solid drop. Like if that was right before Spirited Away,
Yeah.
you'd be able to see it in theaters.
I mean,
Sounds
that'd
like
be
a cool idea to me.
okay, cool. So what you just said is like a metric of success would be like uh prestigious eyes, I guess, like people who have like kind of power in the industry choosing your film to show
Yeah.
to their audiences. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not like a YouTube thing where you want like a million views,
No.
syndicate it, like sell it to a studio where now it's a TV
No.
series or like something. So you're already like envisioning it as like a like to exist in itself for like audiences that already kind of watch this type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of where it's at right now. I don't The story is not like a series kind of story. I mean, it could be, but I think that would kind of destroy the whole idea of the story.
So how would you take the success of Axolodyssey and use it to kickstart your own, Studio Fresco? Like what would be the next step for Studio Fresco? To create another
Well,
film in Kickstarter and get that off the ground, or what do you think?
my hope is to get this one done and have some fragment of success to make another one, just another short film, just so
Yeah.
we could, it's like you can do things about animals and you could do things about people. And it's like you could really tell two really good stories. So then with the third project, try and do feature.
Hmm.
It'd probably be a small feature.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just like the pipe dream, but
I mean, that
that's what
sounds
I'd like to
amazing to
do.
me. And I
That's what I like to, and I think all the 2D animators just turned their head in their offices, just went, what? Because it would be completely 2D
why not? I don't
because
know.
I can't do CG
Well, that's fine.
physically.
Yeah. Have you ever you mentioned that you have to have a number of skill sets. Have you ever considered doing puppet or
I
CG
tried. I
or
tried both.
so
I
you
actually tried both. Yeah.
and it didn't work out, I guess.
No,
So
not at all. Uh, no, I was getting the hang of CG, and then like because I was taking classes on it in school,
yeah.
and when the pandemic happened, that was my senior year. So like everyone kind of just trailed off, and it was hard for the students and the teachers to like exactly teach from home and deal with this whole new problem. So like
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was at the phase where it was like learning acting shots, and it just fell apart. The class fell apart. So, but at the same time, I got on Space Jam too. So
Perfect.
it was like life just told me do this.
Yeah. It sounds like we were in school at the same time because I was also in school in the pandemic
Yep.
and then I got an opportunity to jump off
Yeah, that was my
stop
last
motion
year. I
project.
surprisingly did finish college and did Space Jam and worked on Tom's documentary pencil test and a puppeted show in class all at the same time,
Wow, that's
which was
that's
like bad.
that sounds like you're superhuman though. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I just
don't
realized
pull up my skin.
we didn't really give like Oxalodyssey a proper intro or anything.
Oh,
Do you want to share like what the film is about and
yeah, sure.
the team and all that stuff and why somebody should be interested?
Yeah, sure. So the story is uh of Ho Ho the axolotl, and he's on a journey to find his family. And he runs across new friends that he makes along the way, and some like monstrous things that I won't really give away unless you check out the Kickstarter, then it's just a dead giveaway. But yep, that's basically the story. And we're going for Ghibli style and storytelling because I honestly just love the storytelling of Ghibli so much. It's so strong, and I feel like it's just such a missing factor from the industry these
Yeah, right.
days, like with movies and shows, like just wholesome stories like that. But it's all 2D animated, and the trailer and the team is really just like 4 to 6 people of my friends from college. a lot of us have worked in the industry. Some of us have had like no luck really getting that far. So, but that, I mean, that doesn't say anything about our talent. It's just, it's been tough for some of us, but a lot of us have worked on productions with Disney and Warner Brothers and Pixar. So I guess we know a little bit about animation.
Yeah, I mean for sure. It's and like, just looking at your trailer and all the quality and it looks like it's all there. And it actually reminds me a little bit like I'm glad you mentioned video games because there's like a lot of atmospheric kind of storytelling in video games that's not in
Right.
animation that we see. And it seems, at least it appears from the trailer, there's a lot of just like,
There is.
kind of adventure atmosphere stuff going on. Like, there's
Mhm.
these little bugs crossing at one point and they're just watching
Yes.
them and they kind of remind me of the sprites in in Howl's Moving Castle. Or
Oh yeah.
no,
The
it's
I
Spirited
don't know.
Away, not Howl's
Oh,
Moving
Spirited
Castle.
Away. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah, the dust sprites. But it's just super cute little stuff like that that you don't really see, I guess. And so
Yeah, no,
I'm
yeah. Well,
excited.
there's a focus on the environment and just like I when I was writing it, like I would tell my friends, like I just want to have points of just like calm, where it
Yeah,
just like takes you out for a second and just like lets you bask in this environment, even though the environment isn't some magical place. It's just like if you were 1 inch tall in like an uncut field of grass. So
yeah, exactly.
and
It's so
yeah,
funny you mentioned that because like TV animation that we're so used to and like storyboarding and like how we're taught to story tell is like every second has to be like action or dialogue or progressing the plot forward or it's cut. And like you're never left. I mean, obviously it's effective and it sells and et cetera, but
yeah,
you're never left with just like, I don't know, like I grew up by a river and would spend the day just looking at
right.
little bugs. Like there's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with that. And it's fun and it's cute and
It
you can
is.
create moments like that. And like, that's kind of what I was getting out of there's a harrowing story and well, I guess they can look at the previews, etc. But I'm glad you did stuff like that too, because it really grounds it.
Yeah,
Plus, like I guess a side effect that might come out of this is, one thing that I've heard from a lot of other podcast guests is they started getting like higher level, like directing, et cetera, kind of work once they had made their own short to like put in the festival circuit and whatnot. So like
that'd be
you
cool.
never, yeah, you never know like if this is actually going to lead to more work, different connections, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really cool.
Yeah, we'll see. That'd be interesting. I never thought that would happen with Ho Ho, but it Ho Ho has gotten a lot of eyes on me
So why
from
why
kind of
Axel? Yeah,
people.
exactly. Well, the account itself is like 11,000 followers. That's like, um, I mean, that's more than I have. Way more than I have. Um, why axolotls?
That I've gotten that question a lot. Um, it's funny. I actually didn't really know what they were when I first started, like everyone
What?
else in the world. What?
I feel like they're like unicorns. Like, everybody
I
kind of knows
know.
that they're like this little like nymph salamander that doesn't go through puberty or something.
No, I had no idea what they were, and I had no idea that they were getting really popular.
Hmm.
I think I saw like on YouTube, it was like strange facts about axolotls, and I was really bored in the pandemic and watched it. And I was like, oh, those things are kind of cool. And
Yeah.
then like as the months went on, I like drew this one little thumbnail drawing and watercolored it of Ho Ho, and like it just came out. And from like drawing that one image, I like had almost the entire story just like in my head in like a second. It was just like it just like went like except the ending, which I rewrote like 5 times.
So you're just
But
making the movie that you saw in your head from that original drawing.
pretty much.
I
And
mean,
it
that's
like it wasn't
amazing.
like every frame. I if I said like, oh yeah, I had the whole movie in my head, I'd sound like a total jerk and be a liar because I didn't. But like the whole overarching story was like thought in like a second.
Hmm.
And so then I was like, wow. And I started to like just kind of like scribble down ideas and like little drawings in this notebook that I had. And my friends were like, oh yeah, you should make this short. This is like, I'd help you. This is cool. I'd totally help you on
Wow.
this. So I just started storyboarding it. I didn't write it like a like actual screenplay. I just started storyboarding and just on my free time, or if I felt like it that day. If I didn't, I would not.
I
And at
think
that time it didn't do anything. So
that sounds amazing to me. If people are coming out of the blue, well, I guess your friends and saying, you know what? I would invest my hard working hours into helping make this happen. Then it must be a good idea. And look, you're making it, so I think that's great.
Yeah, I don't know what compelled me to actually go ahead and try and make this, but you
Hey,
know what?
it's the same compelling that made you redo the character design 3 times.
Yeah, it is.
Still
It
going
really
strong.
is.
Well, John, I want to be cognizant of your time too, because I know we don't have much time. And it's been a pleasure learning about your whole journey. And now you're making a short
Nice.
film. You formed a studio. I think these are incredible things, especially in such a niche of animation. And the whole film looks super exciting to me. Did we not touch on? Did we miss anything you want to touch on still?
I don't know. I don't think so. No. I have a little more time if you want to keep talking, but
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Tell
for
me.
me it's only 5:20. So
Okay. Tell me, what are you working on besides Axolodyssey right now, if you can
so
say?
I just got brought onto a project that I start on tomorrow,
Oh
which I
wow.
can't
Okay.
say.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that was like well needed. Really well needed at
Oh,
this
you know what? One
time.
thing I wanted to ask you is, how have you really upped your game? Because like coming from, redrawing a character expression sheet 3 times to then studying under Tom Bancroft, which I'm sure helped your skill level. And even
Mhm.
like um on your Instagram where you're like commenting on what you're posting, you're like, I got all this feedback and tried to implement it, blah blah blah. Like, what has really kept you pushing your skill level forward for these years to get where you
Question.
are?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's the crazy compulsion that is animation and like my little nagging demon in my head that makes me keep doing this all day. Yeah, that's really it. And I just the passion for it is what drives me.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do like X, Y, and Z in a given time. So like sometimes I really want to hit like acting quality of like Glenn Keane, and I know I'm not gonna, but like I want to practice
Yeah.
because the only way to get to that, the only way Glenn Keane got to that was because he practiced.
Yeah,
So
you're not going to
uh,
get further away. You're not going to
no,
get worse by practicing. Can
no,
you imagine?
no, yeah, yeah.
You're like,
I
whoops,
have that fear
wrong direction.
sometimes though. I'm like, I have that fear. I'm like, oh God, why did I even do this? So I'll do shots all the time. I'll just like do like I sometimes will scour the internet for like a good audio line that'll like connect to my heart. And
Okay.
then if I really like it, I'll let it sit for a while. That's kind of like what I did with the Mama Odie animation that I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Don't know if you saw that or not,
Yeah, that's what
but
I was referencing.
yeah, okay, that's perfect. Yeah, that was I just I heard the audio line. I think I downloaded it maybe a year and a half in advance and just let it, yeah, oh, it was a long time. And I just let it sit. And then I finally, like a few months before I animated it, I was like, oh, that would work really well with Mama Odie. And then I drew Mama Odie once and it was garbage. So then I drew her again and it was a little better. And I was like, I think I could do it. So then I did it. And so it's those kinds of things that like I'll just challenge myself here and there. Like I have been animating this Rapunzel scene for a couple months now, but I've just like taken it really slow because it's so
Oh,
hard.
yeah.
And like I also have all these other things that I'm drawing up. Like I just feel like drawing X, Y, and Z, so I'll just draw that. Like I felt
Interesting.
like animating this new character that I've made that I haven't shown anybody yet, other than my friends. It's playing right here. I've just been
You just
animating
have
her
to
for like,
turn the cam.
yeah, I've just
Interesting.
been animating her for like 2 days, and
Wow.
I'm just going straight ahead, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
I love that you have this natural compulsion to do this because that I think that is amazing because like some of the things that stand out on your social media for me were like the Mama Odia, whatever. How important is like life drawing or like online classes or like mentorship to upping your skill level? Or are you just kind of doing things on your own and then figuring it out over time and that's helping?
I have been so lucky with the mentors that have helped me and craft me as the animator that I am now. Like I had Tom early on as like my primary mentor,
Yeah.
and I also took classes with John Pomeroy. So I was having him kind of teaching me at the same time. And then like as of recently, since those guys were getting busy and Tom kind of just felt confident in me, he didn't feel like he needed to like get as hands-on with me anymore.
Yeah.
Like Matt Willamese just like randomly messaged me one day and he was like, hey, can I like help craft you? Basically is what he said. And I was like, you bet your butt you can.
What the heck?
So like,
Because
yeah,
because of your like you're posting your stuff on like social media.
I think at the time it was when I was with Pencilish and he wanted to just offer his help to the animators at Pencilish. And it
Wow.
was, I like took that up instantly. And I think I have Matt to thank more than anybody for my like massive leap in quality.
Wow.
Like,
So like what was a like a pivotal piece of advice that you received that helped you get that massive leap?
with Matt, it's all about what is the character feeling.
Yeah.
So like when I bring him an idea, because I'll do like the lunacy that I'll be like, I wanted to like animate blah blah blah, and I have this line, and he'll just be like, well, what is the character feeling, John? And he'll just talk to me about it for like 20 minutes. And if I don't have an answer, I feel really stupid.
Fair.
And it's like,
Makes
oh, I
sense.
get it. Like this is something that I haven't been thinking about this whole time.
So it wasn't like I was practicing volume or posing or
No,
silhouettes or a line of action or gesturing. It was like what is the character feeling?
all
And then
internal.
I'm assuming that translates to how they're expressing that with what they're
Their
doing,
body and their
their
face
body.
and
Yeah.
their gestures. Yeah. I
So
mean,
how
I
can you so like maybe walk me through like, if a character is feeling sad, how do you restrain yourself from just doing stereotypical sad versus like
mhm.
subtly expressing their sad maybe with like, I don't know, they're just not super energetic with their actions or something like that. Like where do you try to translate it into animation?
um that's a tricky question to answer
Listen,
based
you don't come
on
on this podcast for easy
I,
questions.
yeah, yeah, the roasting has begun.
It started from the first question.
Yeah, I know. No, it's tricky because it really, for me, it depends on like what the circumstances are. So like if it's just like a pantomime thing, so much can work. But if it's a shot with like a line of audio, like I think a lot of it could be really done in very simple body movements that don't really move far from like 1 to 3 major poses. And a lot of it can be done in the face with just like very subtle things.
Hmm.
So like it's not just like, like the super sad like kind of expression, but like you have to think deeper than that. Like, is this character defeated? Are they depressed? Are like they feeling anxiety? Are they like really sad?
Yeah.
Like it all just builds up, and you kind of can't help it, but you sit there and then you start doing it,
Yeah, I'm
and
I'm doing the whatever expression I'm animating. I'm sure if
yeah,
somebody's watching me from my window, they'll be like, "This guy's I don't know what he's doing."
yeah. Like I do a lot
Besides
of
me, like running around videotaping myself doing actions in my living
yeah.
room.
I don't do any videotaping. What I do is I'll just act it out in my chair, literally,
Yeah.
like over and over, and
Wow.
like just like be thinking about it really hardcore. And then at that point, I've kind of got an idea for it, and I'll just like I don't really have a visual idea except for maybe like a couple drawings, but I'll just like feel it and try and draw that feeling.
Got you.
It's a
Um,
little hard to
I
explain.
mean, maybe this answer is very self-obvious, but to do those subtle things, you have to have like the character design like nailed down 100 times over to be able to like take the confidence and make like the, I don't know, the eyes a little droopy or something, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So does it take like 100 times drawing the face before you feel confident to change
For
it?
me, yeah. Oh, yes, totally. I have to draw the character a good amount of times before I could even feel confident in animating them properly.
Yeah,
Like unless if I don't, I'm gonna fall into this problem where like I'm drawing one drawing that's perfect, then the next one it's not perfect, and I sit there for 3 hours and I'm like, what the heck?
oh, I do that all the time. Or if the
Yeah.
its head is like tilted up and I'm like, I don't know what
Uh-huh.
it looks like anymore.
Yeah. It's yeah. So I always have to just get familiar.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe this is the last question now for me. Based on what you said before with the mentorship, how do you squash? Because like sometimes I like reach out to my contacts when I'm like kind of proud of something that I do, and I'm like,
Hmm.
can you critique this for me? And I'm expecting them to critique it. I'm expecting them because they have years of industry experience to be like, well, you didn't, blah blah blah. This is all wrong with it. But I still have this like ego that cries and screams at them when I receive that critique. And I'm like, didn't you see how what I did that was good and how great this was? And I'm like, et cetera, et cetera. And it like really, it's like this heart wrenching, like I'm like so angry internally, but at the same time, I'm like, they're right.
You're right.
But at the same time, like, how do you squash that ego to like really see what they're saying and start from scratch all over again without like feeling some way about it?
I don't know because I don't feel like
You
my
have no
ego is
ego.
very, no, I do, but I don't think my ego's that strong. Like when I know that there's like some people that I'll share things with that I know that I can animate better than them. So like some of my friends aren't animators, like they're storyboard artists, they're painters. So like when they see it, I kind of have an ego and be like, yeah, it looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
but, but when I'm sharing with my other animators,
You're
they
like,
either
it's
say
crap.
it's
I'm sorry.
yeah, well, they'll say like, oh, it's really good, or they'll have like something like, oh, I would have maybe done this different. But it's when I show someone like Matt and he goes, take away everything except one drawing, and I'm like, oh, okay. There goes that ego trip.
Got you. Got you. Okay, so it's more or less like the willingness of who it is that's telling you based
Yeah.
on their experience and okay,
I
that makes
like
a
to
lot
get
of
a
sense.
lot of opinions, and usually my friends are like super supportive all the time, and maybe just like don't want to say something that would make me have to go reanimate an entire thing. But my mentors are
They
not
don't
the
care. They're like, too bad, sorry.
they want to tell me because they love me. That's
Right.
what I tell
That's what you
myself.
tell yourself. Oh my God. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna remember this
Yeah,
next time. Okay, cool. Well, I think I've asked everything that I want to ask. Is there
awesome.
anything that you want to ask or that you want to wrap up with? Maybe
Um,
you don't have to say yes. We can
I
John
yeah,
talk.
I feel like I had a question, but I think I forgot.
That's cool. Okay, cool. Well, John, super thank you for coming on the chat. It's been a pleasure. I'm excited to see the journey that Axolodyssey is going to go through. And I hope you get fully funded. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you for having me on here.
Of
It's my
course.
first podcast, so if I was rough, then I'm sorry, but
Congratulations. It was amazing. Okay,
yeah,
cool. Well, if you're listening to John's first podcast and my 200 and something podcast,
hey.
and you want to reach out to him or check out his work, or preferably check out the Kickstarter and consider donating some money that way, I'm going to include his Instagram, his Twitter, his website, and the Kickstarter all in the description of this chat, so please go check those out. And thank you so much for listening. That's all for now. Okay, bye. The music for this podcast was composed by Willem Mendo and the graphics by Luhan Wang. I encourage you to look them up if you've enjoyed their work.